Acting Speaker, and I rise today to wholeheartedly support the motion from the member for Elizabeth to recognise International Day for Disaster Reduction, which was, of course, on last Saturday, the 13th of October. I do so because I take every opportunity I can in this place to highlight the huge value of the role of volunteers play, specifically in regional communities across our state. The role they play in protecting lives and property, and in general, just improving the lives of people who live in the communities that they serve. The CFS volunteers and the AMBOs are front of mind for me. These people leave their homes in the middle of the night, their workplaces during the middle of the day, and they miss precious family time and events and sacrifice much and place their own needs second to those of those that they serve. Because they do this because they care about the communities they live in and understand that regional communities, by sheer tyranny of distance, could not be protected. Fires could not be put out quickly. People in car accidents could not be assisted in a timely manner without the commitment of local people who are willing to undertake the necessary training, give the necessary time away from the home and workplace, and farmers who down tools and leave their tight schedules, leave their tractors and headers to help others living in their local community who are in distress. Our country towns could not exist without such people, and I take this opportunity to again highlight their efforts. I've met so many people who serve their local districts in so many vital ways since being elected as the member for Narungga 7 months ago. It has certainly opened my eyes to the value of the volunteer resource, be they firefighters, incident controllers, farmers setting up text messaging systems to communicate on bad weather days when reaping is not recommended, thus avoiding a potential disaster themselves, or park rangers at Innes advocating for efficient mobile phone and internet communication services to secure isolated Innes residents and the 100,000 tourists who flock there every single year. It could be the fishermen and coastal patrol volunteers who so regularly down tools to assist in sea rescues, the people who volunteer at food banks and charities to improve the lives of their fellow citizens. Just last week I met with the station volunteers who help locals struggling with mental health issues by offering a friendly ear, and that service is vital in avoiding a potential disaster itself. I've also met many Progress Association members who fight for improved infrastructure in their towns that they work to progress every day. I've met council staff working alongside communities to divert traffic, sandbag, tarpaulin roofs in the rain and wind during storm events. There are SA Power Network staff out in all weather to restore power to homes and business in any sort of conditions. I have a great friend who's a liney with SA Power Networks, and often consider him when I'm sitting at home without power and there's wind and rain and storm outside, and I imagine him out there somewhere on a ladder trying to fix our power. All these people I've listed reduce the risks associated with all sorts of disasters, natural and otherwise, and this motion pays tribute to the wonderful work that they do. Effective community resilience requires good working relationships within communities, between communities, and those who support them on a professional or voluntary basis. This working relationship also required between agencies and organisations engaged in this work, and the importance of working together and harnessing local knowledge was no better showcased than during the largest disaster that has faced the people of Narungga in recent years, the Pinery bushfire of November 2015. This bushfire claimed the lives of 2 people, hospitalised a further 16, 5 of which were with critical injuries, and burned more than 82,500 hectares. It's very similar to the fire the member for Flinders referred to before, which was equally as devastating on the Eyre Peninsula. In the report since, it has revealed insurance losses from the fire exceeded $75 million, with 91 homes, more than 400 farm structures, 483 vehicles and 70,000 livestock were destroyed. I drive around the area regularly that the Pinery bushfire touched, and the scars are still lingering today, with the burnt trees on the side of the road, houses still being built and replaced, and it's a real omen for the people living in that area. The Pinery fire was a particularly fast-moving and ferocious grass fire, which meant firefighters could not control the blaze before conditions changed, and several crews were caught in life-threatening burnovers. The blaze ignited while other fires around burned near Clare and at Pinnaroo in the Murray Mallee, further challenging scarce resources. In supporting the motion today, recognising International Day for Disaster Reduction, I also want to acknowledge all agencies, personnel and volunteers involved with the Pinery Fire who worked diligently over a 12-month period after the fire to complete independent reviews and incident reports commissioned by the state government. These are vital tools from which we can learn lessons for future fire and disaster management, thus mitigating the impact of the disaster. The state government commissioned these reports into the operational response of the South Australian Country Fire Service and the government radio network to identify areas for improvement and better position the state to respond to emergencies of this scale in the future. There were 9 themes from which the CFS drew learnings. They were incident management, public information, intelligence gathering and sharing, facilities relocations and relief of persons, aviation, personnel safety, inter-agency operations and fatigue management. Outcomes delivered from lessons learned include government committing to fitting more CFS trucks with burnover technology, things like thermal curtains, water spray curtains, in-cabin breathing equipment, increasing the fleet of CFS trucks, and it was pleasing to see $5 million allocated towards CFS upgrades in the state budget, Mr Deputy Speaker. Similarly, it was recommended that we committed to better train radio operators, improvements to public warning systems and to the government radio network to reduce congestion and network overload. A separate report found a large number of calls, combined with lengthy conversations on the network, impacted available capacity for agencies and that portable radio terminals were used in areas not designed to deliver reliable two-way portable communications. These are important lessons, and in particular lessons learned uniquely specific to country areas, such as the issue of district area names not being familiar or able to be recognised by people outside of the area or from the metropolitan area. The personnel from agencies coming in to assist, meaning more work has since been done on mapping and geographical descriptions, rural addressing and the like to enhance communications. The findings of the Project Pinery Review, released in April 2016, gives a pertinent summary of the huge number of personnel and agencies required to deal with an extreme event such as the Pinery Fire, and I share facts from the report to highlight the enormity of the tasks faced in protecting life and property in this state. I also reiterate that a key finding of all reports is that no actions taken by the SACFS could have altered the course of the Pinery Fire, which such was its size and complexity in 38-degree heat, 90km/h winds and high fuel loads of standing crops ready to be repped. That is, no changed behaviour by responders could have altered the impact of this severe event. Conditions were such that they carried no expectation of containing the fire until the weather changed. And that is the crux of natural disasters. They place us all predominantly at the mercy of nature. Not a great position to be in. So I would like to reiterate that I have had the wonderful opportunity to interact with a number of volunteers from across the electorate of Narungga since being elected, and it's heightened my appreciation for the contribution they make toward our communities. Without them, Mr Deputy Speaker, we would be in serious trouble, and the mitigation of said natural disasters would be even more tedious. So it is wonderful to acknowledge today a goal to reduce natural disasters. As have been previously mentioned by other members, while a noble goal, there will always be natural disasters that impose themselves upon us, and the report from the Pinery Fire is a timely reminder now that the processes need to be in place to mitigate the impact that natural disaster has on the people of South Australia when they do unfortunately present themselves to us. So with that, I'd like to commend the motion to the House, commend the goal of reducing natural disasters to the House, and thank all that were involved in the Pinery Fire fight to save house and life.
Member for Hammond.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and I rise to support the motion that this House A recognises that Saturday 13 October is International Day for Disaster Reduction, B expresses its appreciation to all emergency services workers, professional and volunteer, who work so hard to protect our community throughout our state, and C calls on the state government to work with our emergency services to ensure that they are adequately resourced to prevent and respond to natural disasters. In the first instance, as many members in here are, I'm a Country Fire Service member